What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at a title called Aquatico. This one has built up a little bit of buzz over the last year or so. It's basically Subnautica if you had Subnautica have a baby with Factorio and like a little bit of Banished on in there. Maybe a little bit of Planet Base too is actually what it kind of reminds me of. I don't know how many people actually remember Planet Base. But it was, I think, the preceding title from the developers that made Surviving Mars, and I thought that both games were really, really good in their own way. I thought that Surviving Mars showed a lot of advantages over Planet Base, but Planet Base had like a weird addictiveness to it that I don't think they quite replicated. But that's not the point. I'm getting side-railed right now with an ADHD talk. Anyways, Aquatico, we're going to dive on in today. This is a build of the alpha that the developers sent on over. So we're going to check it out, spend about 25-30 minutes with it. Along the way, I familiarized myself with the basic controls and the basic gameplay tenets of like what I need to be getting done so that we can mash our way through 30 minutes. Along that path, I'm going to go out of my way to kind of talk about things that I like or don't like about the game so that hopefully it works as valuable feedback for both you as a consumer and also for the developers if they end up seeing this video so that they can have kind of areas to focus on, I guess, when it comes to polishing and fixing. Down below in the description, you will find a link to Aquatico, just in case you wanted to check it out for yourself. I think they are planning on having a Steam Next Fest demo, although I would double check that. But anyways, that should be out in October as far as I know, if they are putting out the alpha to coincide with the Next Fest. And then on top of that, you'll also find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream, just in case you wanted to hang out live any given day of the week. Let's go ahead and start a new game. We've got to name our base. Our subsurface base will be called Booty Base 5000. Sounds good. And then we got to choose a banner out here. There's lots of like pirate and Neptunian looking things. I like the anglerfish. That's kind of cool. It's got like a hammerhead shark. Yeah, let's go with the hammerhead shark. And then I could change the color around. It seems like they're mostly just kind of like MS Paint colors, and I think they're going to clash, so I'll probably just leave it white for right now. That's the only one that looks clean to me. It's the only one that doesn't look like it needs a black outline added to it. So we'll go ahead and put that one in right there, and we are good to go. We got to pick a map. There's the Shallow Reef, the Underwater Sierra, and that's pretty much, actually, there's only the Shallow Reef in this build. However, in future builds, it looks like they do plan on having a lot more pre-built underwater biomes you can play inside of. I don't know if there's any plans for procedural maps or anything else like that that just kind of generate randomly. That would be kind of a cool feature. Some people don't really like the pre-built maps. I don't really care either way. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. But let's dive on into Shallow Reef. We're going to leave everything on the default values because I'm worried I'm going to mess up my gameplay experience if I touch anything. And there's a killer whale. I got invited one time. I was at Marine World in Vallejo, California, and I got called up from the crowd during a whale show to get my picture taken, sticking my head inside of the orca's mouth. And I was like, nah, that's a hard pass, Chief. That's like that's the worst thing you could have possibly drawn my name for. There is no chance. It's called a killer whale. You understand the special kind of stupid you have to be to stick your head inside the mouth of a thing that has the word killer in its name? Are you nuts? No, absolutely not. Some other kid went and did it, and nothing bad happened. But you know what? What if it had? You know what I mean? What if I had passed? And then little Timmy got called up instead of me, and he was like, ah, you weenie. And he walked up, and that day, the orca just had like a really bad time. Maybe his Wheaties got soggy too fast. He just bit that kid's head off in front of a live studio audience. Nah, son. Nah. It could have gone the other way. That's the point that I'm trying to raise, right? Like, it went fine, but it might not have, you know? So the first thing we got to do is we got to put down our base. This is going to be our headquarters, the central location from which we operate. The green areas are areas that are suitable for farming. The red areas tend to be areas that are suitable for industry. And then the blue areas are areas where you can just place whatever if you want. Oh my God. My cat picked exactly this moment to walk across the keyboard. Luckily, nothing has been sabotaged. He does this about 7 times a day where he like gets up on the side of the desk and he just sits there and then he's like, now! And then he just charges across the keyboard. Welcome, Sea Mare. I don't know if I like Sea Mare. We should call that like Sea Baron. I feel like that's a I would say Sea Duke, but like, I don't think anybody wants to be a Sea Duke. A Sea Baron, though, that sounds rad. Leading an underwater colony is a great responsibility, but we at the New Atlantis Initiative have no doubt you can handle it. Going underwater is our last chance at survival since the asteroid made the surface uninhabitable. Oh, it's post-apocalyptic. I didn't read any of this stuff when I was going through because I was just trying to learn the game, and so I tend to bypass all the dialogue and all the universe building. Focus on the production of plastics for construction, fuel for heating, and food for our people. The cold winter currents will strike soon. Is that a thing? Cold winter currents? I don't know if that's a thing. Is that like a real thing? Like, I assume there must be some variance in, like, equatorial, like, water temperatures based on, like, the year and, like, the tilt of the planet. But, like, at the same time, it feels like it would take a lot to really shift the temperature on the ocean. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if, like, wind and rain could, like, do that inside of normal seas. Then again, a meteor did just impact the surface, which probably kicked off some kind of, like, nuclear winter-like situation where the sun is blacked out, possibly. So, I don't know. I think we're dwelling in the realm of fantasy. So the first thing we need is a Gatherer's Center. The Gatherer's Center, it does exactly what it says on the tin. They go out and they just gather things. It's all automated. You don't really need to pay attention to it. For all intents and purposes, this is a building that magically conjures resources out of the ether. Like, little guys don't go out and grab stuff. We don't, like, mark anything for them to go get. I think you can through the clearing menu. But, like, yeah, you can through the clearing menu, but I was watching it earlier, and it didn't seem like they were going out and, like, doing anything. It seems like they kind of just chill on in there, and then they type inside of, like, a little Star Trek machine that magically conjures stuff that I need. Other things that we're going to need after the Gatherer's up, that's going to gather kind of, like, bare bones, low-level food. The next thing that we are going to need is, actually, I should probably get some research going, too. That would probably be what a smart guy would do. Additional panels. Let's get some research going. So we'll start working on the tidal turbine. That way we have a way to generate electricity. You can't queue up research. I would recommend that they add that, the ability to, like, click way down here, and it'll just draw the fastest path to get to what you want. And I guess to balance it, just because, like, you're being lazy and AFKing your research, maybe it deducts the full cost all at once, and then, like, you get, like, less of a refund or something if you decide to replan it. I don't really know. I'm not keen on gameplay balancing, but anyways, I like the ability to queue up my research, so hopefully they add that. I'm the kind of person that, like, I forget when my research is done and it pops, and so I avoid that by aggressively queuing research in every game that I play. We're going to need to do some production. So what I'd like to look at first, we need a sponge collector. I need my overlay too. Where's my overlay grid? There we go. We're going to need a sponge collector. And we kind of want to think about the way that we're going to deploy this because we're going to be connecting pipes. And in connecting those pipes, we're going to be blocking off big sections of the map. And so we got a 120 right there. I think 120 is probably... Oh, no, there's a 125 right there. Is there any other spot that has like a 125 like? Yeah, I think that's about the best we can do. So we'll go for the 125. Sponges are going to be an important component in manufacturing more plastics so that we can make basically habs for the people that are going to be coming and living underwater. We're going to get like a never-ending stream of refugees that we have to deal with, and this is going to be the first step in building them a house. The next thing we're going to need is we are going to need an oil platform. The oil platform is going to be quite important. The oil platform doesn't really matter as long as its entire sectional is inside. I have trouble seeing the front of these buildings. It's got the little arrows, but I would recommend they make them a green color by comparison to the teal. You see the arrows on the right that give you the facing? They're really, really small, and they're also the exact same color as the pipeline hookups. And so anyways, I would recommend swapping those to green so that you can see them a little bit better. Just a small color variance. We'll put that right there. And then the next thing that we're going to need is we are going to need a fuel refinery. So I'll probably put the fuel refinery like right here. And the fuel refinery front, I think, is up that way. Now that we have our fuel refinery, we can have the fuel. So the oil is going to get pipelined into the fuel refinery. The fuel refinery is then going to go to a plastics factory that's more than likely going to be like right here maybe. And then the sponges are going to go into that as well, just to make the whole thing work. Now the game, it has a pipeline system. You're going to see how that works in just a minute. But it's not as crazy or it's not as fastidious as something like Satisfactory or something like Factorio. Basically, you can think of the pipelines as a universal transit method for every resource that everyone needs, and also electricity and heating and everything else. It's basically a universal conduit for everything any individual building is going to need in order to maintain its functionality. So, We're also going to need to connect a hab around here somewhere, so we're going to need fuel to go to a hab. I don't know where I want to put the habitat. Our resources are looking pretty good right now. We've got all kinds of various resources up at the top of the screen, everything from just like money, which apparently in a post-apocalyptic world, this currency must have been just remarkably well designed, because it still carries value, even though the world has ended. We've got food, we've got clothes, we've got luxury. As you can see, that's kind of where the banished influence is going to come in, where as your colony grows and gets bigger, there's going to be things that people want, there's going to be things that people require and desire in order to make basically your colony function. I should probably send out the gatherers to go grab any iron or anything else that's laying around on the ground. We've got a little bit of stone right there. Let me go ahead and queue all that stuff up too. Gather all resources, go ahead and grab those. I think that's just stone right there. We've got like a little bit of metal over there, and that should be fine for right now. The next building that we need to plop down in our production chain is that we are going to have to plop down... We've already got our refinery, right? We need our plastic factory. That's going to be the next big piece of the puzzle. So, plastic factory, we got to be kind of like sneaky about where we put this, because pipelines eat up construction area, and this is the kind of game where inevitably you're going to end up with a big nasty spaghetti base. There's just not much you can do about it, but I would like to make it at least as decent looking as possible along the way. And so I actually think the least detrimental place we could put it might be like over here, possibly. Yeah, I don't know what the front side... There it is. I see the arrows. Okay, I was going to say, I don't know what side of this is the front, but I see it now. We'll put it right there. All right, so that's all of our construction. Let's go ahead and let the game run, and we'll let it get some things finished off. We do have a date. We do have the time. We do have temperatures and things of that nature. But for right now, I feel fairly confident about our starting opening hand. We are going to need to run some pipelines, but I'm going to wait till the buildings are done before I do that. We're also going to speed up the game ever so slightly so that the buildings get done quicker. The game does have no gather drone in building. There we go. Now you have a drone that gathers. There is incremental building in this game. I think it could look a little bit nicer. Basically, it gives you like this... retro sci-fi or maybe this holographic display, and it just kind of fills in. But it doesn't fill in like all the way. If you watch the Gatherers building, it'll fill in like kind of up. Well, let's watch this one and see what happens. Oh, our research is done. Nice. Next research. Oxygen generators. Yeah, people like breathing. That's probably a smart thing to have. I have an oxygen addiction. You have an oxygen addiction. We all do. And if we don't get it, we become very corpseified. Actually, it did fill in the whole thing right there. Nice. Perfect. All right, so we need to get all this stuff connected up to the grid, but for the moment, we need to wait for the entire supply chain to be done. These little marks right here, it means that A, we have no robots working inside these places, and we definitely want robots to be working inside these places. There we go. How many robots do I have left out of curiosity? So we have 12 robots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we should have 7 robots left. I would like to see this right here subdivided. Instead of just telling you it has 12 drones, it should have like a number, which is how many employed drones you have versus how many free drones you have, so that you can prep a little bit easier and figure out exactly where things are at. I'm sure that's nested in some kind of menu somewhere, but I always prefer it when they've got it like lined up just on the taskbar so that I can see it. Our next big goal is going to be to run some pipe. So let's go ahead and lay some pipe out here. This is now taking the fuel to the fuel refinery. The sponges. How do I want to do this? I think I'll do it like this. There we go. The sponges are now going to the plastic factory. You can figure out what inputs you need on any of these just by taking a look at them. Also, every single building has upgrade paths that you can put them on to make the building work better or like lower its upkeep. Oh no, dude, was my game running on 8x that whole time? Oh no, dude. Okay, yeah, that's bad. We're going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball. And I believe what I may have to do there... This game's got kind of a strange system for the pipes. You'll get used to it, but I guarantee you'll probably mess this up the first time around. You can only make like one connection in this game for some reason. I don't know exactly why that is. So you know how we connected from here to here? That means we can't run a pipe from anywhere else off of this building. It's kind of an odd system. I assume it has something to do with the way the game is coded, although I couldn't speculate. But that's why I had to run this all the way around over to here and then up to where I want it to go. It's a strange system that takes some getting used to. What I would have preferred to have done was connect a pipe here and then just run a pipe from there. That would have been the perfect way in my head to do it, but now this entire supply chain has been taken care of, and as you can see, we are starting to stack up some fuel that's in reserve. We've got crude oil coming on in. It looks like we're not consuming all of our fuel, which is probably a good thing. Let's go ahead and get the oxygen generators up and running because I think those are going to be important as well. The oxygen generator will also be kind of fun because I don't know exactly what it needs. So it needs electricity, which means we need to start establishing a power grid. I think that's doable. I think that's pretty easily look afterable. What does the blue area mean? It's a radioactive area. Okay, so we probably don't want to put our entire unified power supply in the radioactive area. That would probably be what a foolish townsman would do. Let's put in a couple of wind turbines. What are these costing me? 10 plastic and 40 credits? That's not too bad. How much do they generate? They generate 80 per year. All this other stuff is functioning without electricity? That's just amazing to me. All right, whatever. We'll put in, let's say, 3 of them, since I don't know how many I'm going to need. There we go. And then we will kind of make like a unified pipe in the direction that we need this to go. But once that's down, we also need to get our oxygen collector, which I've lost it now. Where did it go? There it is. Oxygen collector. I would like for you to be kind of like right there. Looks good to me. What did that cost me, by the way? It cost me plastic? Good. We've got plastic production, so I'm not too concerned about it. How much plastic is it producing? 180? I don't see production happening. It says none produced in the last month. I would like to see a little progress bar or something on top of the buildings that maybe you could toggle on and toggle off, just in case you wanted to like check if the thing is actually functioning. It says 100% low space in stock. That might be the issue. All right. Well, I think we can get like a depot. Yeah, let's go ahead and get a depot over here. Sure, we'll put in a depot just because that'll increase our universal storage a little bit. I think we're probably maxed out on objects because I grabbed all the stone and I grabbed all the iron off that side. I would guess that's probably what went wrong. We also need to build our first dome. That's going to be the first thing. It says small dome, but it's definitely not small. It's quite grandiose and large, in fact. Where is the front of this building? It doesn't matter. It's got an entrance on all sides. Okay, we'll put in the dome right there. New people have arrived at the colony. New Atlantis HQ has sent them to assist us with daily tasks. We should put them to good use as soon as possible. I don't really want villagers yet, but you know what? Welcome. All are welcome to die in my great and glorious colony of death. Let me run some pipes out here. It's kind of hard to see. Let me cancel that, and then I need to be like hard vertical right here with the camera. So we go right there, we go right there, we go right there, and then we unify. There we go. All right. And then that still leaves us a curve right there so that we can run this over to there. And then we need this to connect to the main pipeline too so that we're carrying around food and other goodies. So we'll go ahead and that needs to be one space over. Actually, I'll just run it from here since that's the target. There we go. The grid has now been run. And we're looking okay. It's not a perfect society, but it is a society that is threatening us with actually functioning. So if I was going to receive a threat, that's good. That's nice. Plastic is definitely falling off a little bit. Let's go ahead and we'll speed up the game till our buildings are done. Looks like we've got drones running around doing what they can where they can. Drones and humans do look different on the ground, by the way. You can see our little drones moving around. But there's also little guys like, you know, what was the prawn, I think was the name of the thing in Subnautica? If you find a human, they're in little prawn suits. And they walk around like underneath the sea with like these cool little mech warrior suits on. I haven't found the spot in the tech tree yet where it allows me to like invent miniguns and like PPCs that I can use to shoot at my enemies, but maybe someday. Might be kind of cool. All right, so power grid's looking okay. Power grid is now officially connected. I'm gonna need this to connect over to here as well. I very much wish you could just daisy chain the buildings together, but I'm guessing they want you to plan your spacing a little bit better, which is precisely why they do not let you daisy chain everything, even though it would be like relentlessly easier. There we go. So we've got everything hooked up. Basically what I do now is I just make like a square grid and then I run pipes to whatever needs to have pipes run to it. Just makes life simpler, makes things easier. We do need a drone inside of there to be our carrier drone. Is there anything else that I can gather around? I'd also like, so if you wanted to see what this looks like, this is a little bit confusing if you didn't play the tutorial. But anyways, there's like two separate views. There's a view of your overall colony, and then there's a view specifically of your habitation areas. You got to click this button to get to it. And this opens up a look at all of the buildings you can build internally. And then once that's locked in, it gives you a completely different building menu. It took me a minute to find it. I'm not a big fan of tutorials. I'm very much a sink or swim player. I like to throw myself in headlong and like whatever happens, happens. Apparently that's just trash plastic right there. We may actually end up needing that. So go forth and grab trash plastic, please. On an alternate front, we also have, hey, we produced. Nice. Okay, I was worried about that. We have no houses for people. The game is very upset about it. So we need to go to Dome View, which is this right here. I thought that was a whale for a second. Apparently, it's like somebody's space Cadillac. All right, cool, man. Ride that Bonneville. We need to get housing. Housing is not very expensive. You'll find that most of the residential things do not cost you very much in this game. I'll just slap down like 4 of these. I don't know how many I need, but I'll just put them on in there. And electricity should have consumption now because it's going to the oxygen tank. And then we should have oxygen being produced over here so that this internal area will have atmosphere. There are other things that we can build. We can build stores, we can build hospitals, we can build, markets, all kinds of things inside of here that will make people happier based on like adjacencies and things of that nature. So the game does have a little bit of like that Anno vibe to it, and that's where I really see Surviving Mars in this game. Surviving Mars and Planet Base is because like a big chunk of the game is kind of the satisfactory Factorio hooking everything up to pipes in an efficient way, like on the bottom ground level of your base. But then this part right here, where you're building up various services and various economies and whatnot inside of your domes using limited space, that reminds me of Planet Base and Surviving Mars very, very much. Just kind of optimizing for what you need. Research is done, so we should probably queue up the next research. We've got a Sea Hunter's Lodge. Unlocks the abilities to build a central hub of our scuba hunters. We've also a fuel refinery in proximity of an oil platform, gains a 10% production bonus. That would probably be good. Plastic factory in proximity of a drone factory gets a bonus. Underwater fields, we can have agricultural surfaces. Let's call it the Hunter's Lodge first so that they can go out and spear some fish. Give them the old harpooning. Doesn't look like there's anything else we can mess around with inside of there, so we'll just go back down to the bottom floor level. And hopefully, if we're lucky, we'll see these little housing icons that are on top of everybody vanish right about the time the dome gets done constructing. I don't know why this minimizes right here so that you can't see it. My guess is that it blocked the view too much of buildings you were trying to interact with. Fair enough. But it would be nice to have kind of like a little bit lower down view that gave you kind of an overall sense of scale with the overriding areas where people live. But what I like about this is as the game goes along, you end up with kind of this top platform that's like the upper city. And then you also have sort of like this Final Fantasy VII or like, Warhammer 40k Undercity that exists, where those down below produce everything for those up above that they need, which could definitely lead to some interesting DLCs and expansions. Or, since the game's not even out yet, interesting mechanics dealing with the difference between the Undercity folk that make everything and the Overcity folk that take everything. So now that our first residential area is done, the thing is, you need to understand this residential dome right here. It needs to have oxygen supplied to it, and it needs to have fuel supplied to it. If you don't have those things supplied, bad stuff is gonna happen. Like, the fuel basically heats up this dome, and the oxygen makes it breathable. So you're going to end up with little icons where they have like a little snowflake above their head. or like a little O2 thing above their head if you haven't already created the industry that supplies them with those things. I know it seems obvious, but the game moves pretty fast and it brings in your first immigrants pretty early. There are directives over here. As far as I can tell, directives are just ways for you to dump money if you have lots of it in order to get bonuses to various areas and outputs of your society. Eventually, I would assume you would have all of these enabled for the most part. I haven't gone through all of them, but I've gone through some of them. There are interesting ones in there that are like, block all immigrants from arriving, things of that nature. But what should we do next? Well, I think we've hit just about every single building. We do have a fisherman's hub, which might be kind of cool. We get a fisherman drone. Is any of this operated by a human being? Because we now have human workers. Ah, so it's like the more expensive stuff. We do have the drone factory, and that's run by a human being. However, how's our electrical grid? We're solid. We could have a drone factory. Yeah, let's have a drone factory. We'll try to produce some more drones. I've always been a big fan of drones in any type of media. Like when I play Shadowrun, I always pick like drone classes. Just can't help myself. Where are my arrows at? I want them to be lined up. You don't want a building that's facing directly into an obstructed view, dude. I don't know if you've ever gone to like a sports game and you thought to yourself like, yeah, dude, I'll get the one that says obstructed view. It's like $80 cheaper. Sure, how bad could it be? Worst case is I'll just go up to the top deck and stand there with my beer. Don't do it. Having an obstructed view is terrible. I got tickets to a Giants game that was a semi-obstructed view, bro, and basically I saw a big concrete pylon for like the entire game. It was maximum strength wieners. Let's go ahead and we will, they warned me. I'm not blaming anybody but myself. I want to make that clear. This is not a complaint. It's just an observation where I have fallen on that grenade so that maybe you don't have to. How much plastic are we producing? So we do have like a plastic surplus, but I'm a little bit worried that that's going to take us over the top. I do think that we could probably develop out our oil mining a little bit more, and we could develop out our fuel consumption a little bit more. That seems to be a particularly weak spot in our overall, like, society, I think. We are a little bit low on cash, which has me a little bit worried. Having a little bit of, like, liquid currency to make problems go away tends to be good, but honestly, an oil platform only costs, like... another $30, so why stress about it? Oh, that's going to be inefficient. Yeah, I think I'm going to have it over here. All right, well, give me another oil platform right there. I could also production boost this one, so there we go. That'll help out a little bit. That actually got us a little bit closer. Like, I wanted to add in another producer over here because I'm a little bit worried about our plastics. Our plastics are looking kind of rough. Let me see if there's any more plastic piles laying around, and we'll harvest those first before we have ourselves, like, giant gasping panic attacks. But the availability of random stuff laying around on the surface, there's some plastic over here. That'll work. Go ahead and gather all that plastic, please. I don't know if each one of those is, like, 5 plastic, but it'll help out. It'll add a little bit to the, shovel. So this is a win-win right here. This is what I like to call a win-win. We're cleaning up the bottom of the ocean from all the various Cheeto bags and whatnot that humanity has thrown down there. And then on the other side, we're also getting useful materials that allow us to produce things. I think we are going to have to spend a little bit of money on, give me another worker slot. So I took the first level of upgrades on each of these, and now we are going to have to deal with issues. So, it is consuming 200 sponges, and it is consuming 108 fuels. That's fine. This should be okay. 216 per year, and how much are we producing? Oh, way more than that. Like, way, way, way more than that. So, we should be fine on sponges. I don't think we have to adjust anything there. However, fuel is an area where I think we are going to have to adjust things. So this has production boost 1 that's already been taken care of. It's taking in 80 crude right there in order to produce 90. Let's production boost it. That gets us a little closer. Not quite as close as I would like to be, but closer. We could get another worker slot, too. Yeah, I guess we could go for it. We're at 90% efficiency. It's not great, but it did give us a lot more fuel output, which actually fixed our economy and effectively relegated this as not really being a necessary fuel platform. So anyways, we've fixed a problem. It looks like we do need more space to store things. As far as research goes, that's already done. I think I'd like to go... Let's push for the clothing shop, because we can derive tax revenue from that, and I'm beginning to get a little bit concerned about our money. And so if I can, I'd like to push for, like, making some cash. We do actually, I was sitting and watching it, and I'm just letting the game run, and I'm not really touching anything. We do passively make money. I think it's just I've been pausing the game so much. I think I've been pausing the game so much and spending so much that it looks like we actually have, like, we're massively in the red, but we're actually not. We're actually okay. Nobody has really gone to get those plastics either. And I wish that they would. I think it's because our stockyard is full. Where's the, is there a warehouse research in here? There's a battery factory. What are the batteries used for? We didn't need those for drone production, right? Like, that was not necessary? We only get 6 drones per year, and so the fact that that hasn't spit out an output yet doesn't really concern me too much. Like, we've been playing this entire 30 minutes, and I think it's been like 2 months. So, the other thing we're going to want is let's go into our production buildings, and we need to make that Sea Hunter's Lodge. And it looks like that's operated by a drone. It requires 50 oxygen per drone. That's actually an important thing. But that having been said, it looks to me like it gives us 150 sharks, which I'm guessing we eat. I have eaten shark, and I did not think... We caught a shark out when I was a kid. We were fishing, I think, out at, like, Dillon Beach here in California, and we caught a giant, like, a pretty big shark. And we had a license for it or whatever, and so, well, okay. We were going to throw it back, but then it bit my dad and tore his hand open. He had to go get stitches, and after that, he was like, I'm eating him. Like, I think all mercy disappeared from my dad's heart the second that shark bit him. Well, it looks like the Sea Hunter's Lodge can kind of go anywhere. Doesn't really matter. So I'll probably just, like, plop it somewhere where I can easily access it on the pipe grid. That's irradiated, so I don't want to be over there. Maybe I'll just kind of slot it in back here, but it needs oxygen, so I kind of want it near the oxygen. Sure, we'll put it right there. All right, so plastics. Does this have, like, a range on it? Let's see. And when it comes to this place, can I just make it bigger? I'm sorry, this building. That'll do. Yeah, bump that thing up. There you go. Give us all the inventory space that we need. I don't know why this little stock panel button is here. It's not red, so I assume nothing bad is happening. But the fact that it just sits there the entire time makes me think that something bad is happening. How are we on food? It's kind of hard to read my inputs and my outputs. Do I have a... Let's take a look here. A new wave of drones has arrived. 3 more drones. That's actually good because drones don't eat food. So, in and out. It looks like we actually, for the first time, have more food going out than we have coming in. So yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. We need to get this place hooked up to the pipe grid. So we shall do that. I guess that way is fine. There we go. And then we'll slap a drone in there. Drone should go out and murder sharks, I guess. Bad day to be a shark, I suppose. Our oxygen production still looks okay, so I'm not going to panic about it, and I'm not going to wring my hands too hard about it. Plastic production, I think they finally grabbed the plastic pile down here. Yeah, they did. I was going to say, it feels like we've got a lot more plastic in there right now. Research is done, which is nice, so we can do a clothing shop up here, maybe? Let's see here. Fine production buildings. What does it take? It takes electricity, it takes plastic, and it takes... Okay, so we don't have the plastic production to make that one pop right there just yet. We're going to need the plastic production to be a little bit better. And so here, we are going to have to decide whether or not... Actually, this thing's at 100% efficiency right now. I guess I could make it a little bit more efficient by knocking 20% off the upkeep. Or I could raise the production by 40%. I mean, raising the production by 40% has us at 504 plastic produced at no loss in efficiency. So I feel like that was the absolute win right there. Like, that was probably the best choice. But yeah, this is... What's wrong with this place down here? What's it upset about? Oh, it's suboptimal. Yeah, that's fine. I can fix that. I just forgot to run the pipe grid down here. It'll, first off, need a drone right there. And then second off, there we go. We'll get you hooked into the grid. Perfect. So now this should no longer be inefficient. Yeah. If we had 5 tools, which are going to be an advanced object, we could upgrade the production again to get even more fuel out of it. As of right now, though, we've got like an 80 crude surplus, which I think is how much a level 1 refinery was producing, so I could probably put another one in right here. Maybe. Food is another thing we're going to have to look after. And I don't think these guys have even started hunting yet. Could boost up the production. It doesn't cost altogether that much. I don't want people to start, oh, dude, the space caddy, it's dropping stuff off inside of there. Nice, dude. Yeah, drop that stuff off. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. These are the little things that I like in games. The game needs more of that, little interactivities and things that are happening. Like the little drone should be like flying around the outside here and like touching stuff and being like, beep, boop, boop. Everybody love drone that go boop, dude. And if you don't believe me, I would like to direct you towards the important documentary called Star Wars, where every movie has drone go boop, and everyone love. Just saying, I feel like that's the proof in the pudding. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile every single day in the world of indie games so that you don't have to. Today we're taking a first look at Aquatico. I think the game's pretty cool. It's pretty rad. I think the alpha is promising. It's going to be hard to say. It does seem like there are quite a number of buildings and like supply chains and things to fiddle with. But there's a lot of games out there that have a lot of buildings and a lot of supply chains and 10 years of development behind them. So we'll keep an eye on this one. We'll see how the continued alphas go. And from there, we'll see how the game fills out. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games. This is Aquatico. I will see you all later. Take care, everybody. Thank you for the luxury of your time. I think I may have done my outro twice, but honestly, I've got like Tuesday brain right now. I don't know. I'll see you later. Take it easy.